Shalom Yasha'Allah. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, salutations to you brothers to the four corners of the earth, teaching His word and laboring in His word in truth, love, and sincerity. And I just want to do a quick update on how NATO is breaking up, okay? Now, if you know that Turkey is a part of NATO, which is the ally of the U.S., but they are starting to have confrontation because the U.S. is backing up a group or supporting a group that Turkey deems as terrorists, okay? And pretty much all these other nations are getting sick of America and the way they handle things, okay? And they know that that they're two-faced and they got a serpent tongue. You know, they do one thing and they say another. And they also have their own agenda going on while they're occupying in someone else's land. But nevertheless, we know that this is all prophecy according to the Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. But before I get into that, let's go into the article. It says, Turkey vows to eliminate any threat after U.S. announces Kurdish border force in Syria. Okay. It says Ankara, which is the republic capital in Turkey, right? It says has slammed the plan to create a 30,000 strong force from the Kurdish-dominated SDF militias on its border with Syria, accusing its NATO ally of presenting its unilateral move as a joint decision of the U.S.-led coalition. The Turkish government perceives the so-called Syrian border force that may be stationed along the Kurdish-controlled parts of the Syrian border with Iraq and Turkey, as well as the Euphrates River Valley, as a threat to its national security, the Turkish foreign minister said in the statement on Sunday. Turkey is determined to eliminate any threats against it and has all possibilities to do this, it said, denouncing what it's called the persistence of the United States in this erroneous approach of cooperating with the Kurdish militias. Okay, so Turkey is, basically just saying like, look, this terrorist group is a threat to us. Okay, and if you're going to back up this threat, then you're a part of the problem. Okay, and we're going to have to do anything means necessary. You see, that's why it says Turkey is determined to eliminate any threats against it. You see? Continuing, it says the U.S.-led coalition plan to set up such a force on the basis of the Syrian Democratic Force, the SDF, veterans who are set up to make up the half of the recruits was unveiled by U.S. Army coalition. Thomas Veal, a spokesman for the U.S.-led coalition, on Saturday. However, Turkey, which is also a part of the coalition to defeat the Islamic State, is formerly ISIS, was not consulted prior to the announcement, according to the ministry. It accused Washington of misleading the public into believing the decision was taken on behalf of the coalition, while in fact, the U.S. was likely acting unilaterally. It is unknown what coalition members made of this decision, explaining the unilateral steps on behalf of the coalition is an extremely wrong move that could harm the fight with Daesh, the Arabic acronym for Islamic State, the ministry said. Turkey has been calling on the U.S. to withdraw its support for the Kurdish YPG units, a cornerstone of the SDF militia, as Ankara considers the YPG an extension of the Kurdistan Workers' Party, the PKK, outlawed as terrorist entity in Turkey. So there's this group that Turkey is saying they're considered terrorists to them, but the U.S. is supporting that group. So what you have going on is Turkey is getting fed up and they're telling the U.S., look, we need you to withdraw from supporting this group because to us they are terrorists. But if you know anything, the U.S. always are behind or always have another agenda when they go into these countries, and they back up these groups just so they can be in that area. Because basically the U.S. all the U.S. United States are trying to do is gain a good position. Okay, that's another reason why they're spread it out through the four corners of the earth to get a good position in the attack of this World War III, man. Because everyone knows there's going to be a war. A war is going to happen. So the players are trying to get the best position possible, and they're going to use any tactics or terrorist groups to say they're fighting against to be over there in them lands. Okay, so let's continue on. It says, in November, Washington promised to wind down its support for certain groups fighting is in Syria following a phone call between Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan and U.S. President Donald Trump. Said the U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis later confirmed Washington would not stop arming the Kurdish militias, noting that police forces compromise of the local population would still be needed to make certain that ISIS doesn't come back. So even though Turkey, a part of their ally, part of their coalition says, look, we want you to back away, okay? We don't want you to support this group that we deem as terrorists. But the U.S., with their pride, said what? That they're not going to leave, that they're going to continue to stand ground. So that's creating tension between what? Turkey and the U.S. And ultimately, Turkey is going to end up fighting with Russia, okay? Not fighting against, but fighting with Russia to help destroy America, along with America's other allies and nations, because America's allies are getting fed up with them, okay? And if you read in Obadiah, it tells you that the beast shall hate the whore, man, okay? And that whore is who? America, Babylon the Great. So all these other nations are going to start coming upon America, man, because they're sick of their folly. They're sick of their bullying and thinking they can do whatever they want to these nations. And also, I read about a month ago, on how Germany, which is a part of NATO, was getting fed up at America as well. So these other nations are seeing America's bullshit, man. Okay, and they're starting to arm themselves and stand up against them. But I want to get Ezekiel the 38th chapter, because what's going to end up happening is these other nations are going to end up linking up with Russia, okay? The big bear. And they're all going to come against the U.S. So let's start at Ezekiel 38 verse 1. It says, "And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, and the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him." And when you're dealing with that, that's dealing with who? The Soviet Union, Russia, okay? Verse 3, it says, "And say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and will bring thee forth in all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords." So the Lord is going to what? Stir back up Russia, man, into that Cold War spirit. You see, that big bear spirit like they was. Okay, and this is what you see. On verse 5, it says, "Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet." So it's telling you these are the nations that are going to be fighting with Russia, okay? Now, when you're dealing with Persia, who is that today? That's Iran, man. And Russia is a defense to Iran right now, okay? And that's where U.S. really wants to put their foot in. They want to put their ground troops in Iran. But once they do that, because Russia's backing up Iran, more than likely all hell's going to break loose, okay? And it says Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togomar and the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. So now when you're dealing with these lands, and when you're dealing with these people, when you hear Gomer and Magor, Gomer is Turkey, man, right? And Togomar is what? In the region of Turkey. So what you read in here in Ezekiel 38th chapter, that all these nations, right? These nations that I named, they're all going to come together. And they're going to come against who? Babylon the Great, which is America. Okay? And this is prophecy. And the Lord is stirring it up through the spirits with Edom and their pride, where they're pissing these other nations off. And eventually, all these nations are going to end up coming against Babylon and burning it down with the ICBM missiles. Okay? That's what's going to take place. Have it here, Obadiah 1 verse, I believe 7. It says, all the men of Dicon, I'll start at 6. It says, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his head things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border, the men that were at peace with thee, because they were all at peace with each other, making agreements, having deals, okay, all in alliance. It says, the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee, that they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. You see, so it's going to come a time where what? These nations are going to what? Prevail against Esau Edom, man. And who's the head of the Esau Edom? The so-called white man, right? Which is America. But even when you're dealing with these other nations, like Russia, Russia's the Edomite country too. You see? But the scriptures tell you what? Egyptian versus Egyptian. And also what? If Satan come against Satan, roughly paraphrasing, how shall his kingdom stand? You see? So this kingdom is not going to stand because what? There's a difference amongst them. Okay? And what? This is all prophecy, man. This is all going to come to pass. But I want to get Isaiah 19 verse Isaiah 19 verse 19, and it reads, Salakia, it's not 19. But yeah, it's actually verse 2. It says, Isaiah 19 verse 2, it says, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom, right? Because when you look at the Pharaoh is a person in a high position, in a high seat. So that's what's going to happen, Egyptians versus Egyptians, okay? And they shall fight everyone against his brother, because these are two head Edomite nations about to have a duel against each other, And ultimately what? These nations are going to destroy America, Babylon the Great, But then these other Edomite nations are going to be destroyed and put down too, Once the Heavenly Father sends his son back, okay? Because what? He is the Lord of Lords, King of Kings, you see? And he's going to be the one to put that crown on his head, because he's going to take down all you other nations, okay? And this is all prophecy. But, going into it, what you can see is these allies are starting to have confrontation with America and starting to back away from them. Okay? They're starting to back away and not be with them, but against them. And this is all prophecy, and it's beautiful to see. It's beautiful to see. Every time something comes on the news line and it pops up, and I see a nation getting tired of America's BS, okay, starting to come against them and say, we're tired of your bullshit. We want you out of our land. Hey, it just shows us that we're closer to them. We're closer to World War III, man. Okay, we just got a few prophecies that got to come to pass, and and we'll be there. So I want